Hi, everyone.
Hello. Welcome back.
I'm Melanie Carr, Vice President of Escapees.
And I am Travis Carr, the President of Escapees, and we are also the founders of Escapers. So we're back for another virtual campfire. And if you're not familiar with what a virtual campfire is, it's really just us to hang out with the community, have a good time, and do some interviews, some educational talks, and tell you a little bit about some new club news. And right now they're happening every other week. So you can come back again for another virtual campfire in the future. Yep. But yeah, we've got a couple of club items I think to go over, which I think Mel is going to help out with.
I am. So a few items just to go over. We usually cover a few things that are happening with the club before we bring on our guests. We did create a new gift membership option since the holidays are coming up. We're really excited to offer that if you want to give the gift to Escapees. We have the option for gift certificates on the store and also a new method where you can purchase it and send it to somebody else, and they'll receive a fun little email that kind of details that out if you can't be with others and they may be interested in the RV lifestyle, or you just think they'd be a good fit to join the club.
Yay.
So be sure to check that out if you're looking for a unique Christmas gift this year. And then this weekend, we have the RV to Freedom Summit coming up, which is going to be super exciting. And that's going to be Sunday, December 6th. And we'll send a little reminder out at the end of the show, too, if you want to go hop on to rvtofreedom.com after to register. It's a totally free event, and you can learn about RV maintenance, some overlooked maintenance items, and we have some fun guests like Chris and Cherie from RV Mobile Internet joining us. So you don't want to miss that. And then the next virtual event that will happen will be a webinar on health insurance with David and Cheryl Goldstein, and that'll be on December 9th.
Yeah, so it's a pretty packed week. Really looking forward to the Sunday and the summit and the new version of RVOU that goes along with that. So really excited about what things are coming in the near future. But why don't we go ahead and bring on our guest for tonight? And while we're doing that, we'll tell you a little bit about tonight and what it's about. And we're going to be talking about social pods
and the winter home base events. So if we want to start with Brandon and Corinza, if you want to give a quick introduction, and we'll kind of move around the table.
Nobody knows who you are by this point.
Well, if you're just joining for the first time, maybe, I'm Corinza. This is Brandon. We do work for Escapees, marketing and brand directors. And we are RVers. We're currently not in our RV at the moment, as you might be able to tell. But we have been on the road for over 6 years, and we are part of a social pod.
Awesome. Why don't we go over to Rich and Kathy? If you guys can tell a little bit about yourself, introduce yourselves.
Okay, Rich and Kathy Anderson. We started full-time RVing 4 years ago and haven't stopped. We love the lifestyle. We're very thankful for the Escapees Club. We had a safe haven here in Sumter Oaks during the summer, a place to stay safe. And we also were the first host of the Winter Home Base Hangout in Florida, in Chiefland. So we'll talk a little bit about that experience later.
Awesome. Very cool.
And Matt?
So I've been full-timing for just over 2 years now. And one of the first things I did was join the Escapers. And so I've been mostly traveling along the West Coast and was hoping to be out on the East Coast by now. But, of course, COVID kind of changed a lot of our plans. So.
Yep. I feel you there for sure.
That's really leads us into the topic for the night. And so, Brandon and Corinza, tell us a little about what you define the social pod idea as.
Yeah, what is it? What is a social pod?
Well, for us, it's a very, very small group of people that we decided that we're not going to see other people. We decided we're going to be our own little bubble. And we, in the springtime, we're in Colorado. So in the spring and summer, we spent tons of time outside. We did little social distance movies. We had hammock circles. But over time, we've been together long enough, and we all know each other, and we all know each other's risk level that we're all willing to accept. And we've kind of gotten to a point where we're kind of a weird little family where, they can come inside now, but we're very careful when we leave the grounds. And even the space we're in, we didn't have this pre-COVID. We always had this idea of maybe finding somewhere in Colorado or somewhere that, could be like a little base camp. And we spent, about a month in a friend's driveway in Yuma, and it was 104 degrees, and we decided we needed something. And so we bought a cabin. The very first thing we did was bulldoze about an acre of it so that RVs can come and park here. And we've tried to kind of serve as a safe haven for our friends. And now that winter's coming on, everybody that's not too brave has left. And we have a very, very small group that's going to try to brave the winter here.
Why would they? So how cold does it get there? Why would they not stick around? I don't know.
Tonight it's going to be 9. But during the day, it warms all the way up to 34.
Ooh.
And it might be 50 this weekend, but it'll still be like 15 at night.
Just enough to be able to hook your water in, turn it on real quick, fill your tanks, and then unhook it again? Is that how?
Yeah. So instead of paying for gas money, they're paying to put in an electric outlet so they can all stay plugged in and, keep warm and keep the RVs warm.
Right. Yeah. Well, Matt, we invited you on tonight because we know that you kind of organized a small little pod out in California through COVID. So tell us a little about what that experience was and what it meant to you. How many people did you have with you?
Well, last March, that's kind of when things started to shut down all over the country. And for us RVers, it created a lot of complications. We didn't know, where we were safe, where we were welcome. And I was with a small group of escapers. There were 10 of us. And CDC had recommended to be in groups of 10 or less. And so we just decided at that point that we were just going to stick to us 10. And it was about to get really hot in Joshua Tree. So I reached out to some community members from my hometown just south of Yosemite and secured some property for us to go stay on. And so, there were a lot of advantages of having kind of a home base to set up on. I think there were a lot of uncertainties about the virus at that time. There still are, but we didn't really feel comfortable, going shopping, and so we wanted to maybe have delivery options, and if we were at a spot, we could easily get Instacart deliveries, Amazon deliveries. When we were at Joshua Tree, they closed down the park, and so we had no access to fresh water right there. So that actually kind of pushed us north a little bit faster than we had planned. But being on property where we had access to dump and fill, and we even had laundry, so we didn't have to worry about going to laundromats. There were a lot of big benefits of just kind of staying together. And I think we were all on the same page about, if we are going to go out and we are going to do shopping, we were all following similar protocols.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Sense.
that's really important. And so kind of fast forward a few months from learning what we know about COVID and kind of seeing how people can get together as a group and stay safe. That's kind of where the concept of the winter home bases were born. Our events teams, they were seeing the community get together, do it safely, put all of these things in place. And those are now being offered for the convergences and the hangouts. So Rich and Kathy, tell us a little about why did it sound appealing to you guys to host and get involved with those, the community side of that?
We were very comfortable staying at Sumter Oaks for the summer because there were not very many people here. But when we got, when we were asked to host, we were very impressed with the safety documents that we went through and being able to check people in, knowing that we would be able to wear a mask and gloves to check them in. And then everyone was to wear a mask for the first week,
7 days.
first 7 days. And it really gave us a chance to get to know the people and how they felt about COVID. So it was a really interesting experience being able to do that and still feel safe.
And we're in a park that had a lot of other people in it that weren't part of escapees. And we're concerned that they'd want to come into our events, our movie night and our campfires. But that first week, we scared them all away. We're the only people in Florida, I think, wearing a mask outside. It's it kind of kept the locals away, which made it easier for us as the events went forward. I think one of the important things was sharing with them the expectations and knowing that this is what we need and reminding them of what we need to keep a safe community. Right. And then the morning coffee hours at 9:00 was a great help because we get everybody together, coffee,
socially distance.
We talk about, what are you guys going to do today? What's good to do? Where are you going to go? Where have you been? What's your likes, your dislikes? The bicycle group got together real quick. There's a rail to trails like 2 blocks from the park. The kayaking group got together. We did some work before we went to the hangout, checking out Gainesville and Cedar Key. Gainesville, there's a lot of outdoor entertainment and a lot of outdoor restaurants. Where in Chiefland, there's none of the restaurants had outdoor seating in Chiefland. And then by going to Cedar Key, they had outdoor seating, and it was on the ocean. So, and Gainesville had a Publix grocery store, which was great. So,
well, I just have to comment real quick on Gainesville. Sorry, I know you want to talk, but my dad was just there for surgery, and I spent a couple weeks over the summer. And Gainesville is awesome. When I saw the hangout was right near there, I was like, "Oh, that town's amazing." They put a lot of investment back into it.
It's got a good vibe.
It's
got a good vibe. It's college community and all that.
So they were very good with the mask wearing. That's the only place where any place on the street people were wearing masks because the university didn't want to have to shut down. So they said to the whole town, they said, we're wearing a mask.
So you brought up 2 points that I think are really key, and it ties into step one of this social pods, in my opinion. And from hearing you guys talk, is you talked about the expectations, and you talked about the difference in views and kind of Florida not wearing masks, but our winter home base were, right. So there's a difference there, obviously, in the expectations and the rules and guidelines. But if you set it properly or know what you're getting into or what the other participants are expecting of each other, it creates a different level of just everybody being on that same page. And I obviously agree, and you guys have mentioned it, being on the same page has to be step one, right? And defining what the same page means to you could be a little tricky.
We had people from all over the country. We had people from the West Coast, people from up north, people that were from Florida. And there are a lot of very new RVers counting their experience in days and weeks. Mm-hmm. And then we had a few that were old timers. I think we had one group that was there for been RVing for 20 years, which was helpful.
And that's what's so special about the home bases to begin with is I think we had so many events canceled and people were joining the club and people were still going into the RV lifestyle, but there was nowhere for them to go to meet the community. So it was something that was lacking. So it's been awesome.
Everybody, it was hurtful to not see the community for sure. So I have forgot, the winter home base was a different animal because we could put out, what the requirements are going to be beforehand. It was different. But, as friends, Matt and Corinza and Brandon, how did you create this same page? How do you set those expectations amongst friends, or how do you have that conversation?
Before you bring them into your pod.
Yeah, I'm just curious how you guys did that process, not to put you on the spot or anything, but.
You want to go first?
Matt. I can't hear you guys. Sorry, Matt, why don't you go ahead while they're messing with that? I'm curious.
Are you able to hear me?
Yep.
Okay. The group that I was with, we were all together actually since BASH. We had traveled down to southern Arizona together and then to Joshua Tree area. And we were all kind of getting the news at the same time. So we were discussing things every night around the campfire as news was coming in. And so I think that since we had all started, together, then, that kind of helped us to kind of help each other through it,
Yeah, so you kind of had it from the get-go, just kind of working your own uncertainty and just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And we did meet up with some other people later in the summer that were over on the east side of the Sierras. And there was just a lot of conversation that happened before we did actually meet. And Some people say, oh, I'm being COVID safe. But then, their definition of COVID safe is much different than maybe what my definition is. I'm considered high risk because I was diagnosed with arthritis at a very young age. So with an immune system that's compromised, I need to be really careful. So I was really, really happy to be around other people that wanted to take it just as seriously and be just as careful.
Yeah, it probably helped too that they were already pre-existing friends, and respected all that, and just kind of,
you've had those conversations, and you know how everybody feels about it. Yeah.
So let's see if Brandon Krenza, if we can hear him.
Can we hear you?
One sec. No, not yet.
Right now.
Hey.
It actually it was
sign language.
So we have a similar, but we didn't get to stay with everyone through that. We were actually down in Arizona when this first started, and then we came up to Colorado, and then people came to visit us to have somewhere to stay. But at first, we had it laid out where anybody that came to visit, if they wanted, of course, a lot of people want to see the cabin because it's new, but they could come in, tour quickly with a mask, and leave, and we would just do everything outside, very distanced. Once we started getting people, we had the same people here over time. We just had to make sure we were all on the same page. We just laid it out. And I think that's what you have to do. You have to be honest with each other and really put it out there and lay out how you follow protocols and make sure you're all on the same page. There's stuff here too. We're very careful. So we don't want anybody to break the bubble because that would put all of us at risk. Mm-hmm. So we laid out, there's even a Time magazine little risk assessment of your risk tolerance. And we kind of all did that to see. And of course, we all were on very low.
Yeah.
Very low.
Out of 100,
did you have to publicly share your results, or did people were like, "Hey, I'm a 10"?
In the chat group, I was like, "Here, do this," and then we put it in there. But,
so out of 100, the highest score was a 6. So,
and most of us were zeros. Yeah. So we all have the same level, and we just had to be in agreement that okay, this is what we're doing. Unfortunately, there's not really delivery here where we are, and so we do have to go into the grocery stores to go, but it's like, okay, we'll go on off peak times in the morning. Everybody wears a mask. We're all very avid mask
and
wearers.
If one person goes to the store, they try to shop for everyone. We're not we're not going to do 4 different shopping trips and quadruple the time in the store. We are fortunate that it's a very small town. For the most part, they've been very insulated from all of this. So when we moved here in June, there was 8 cases in town. Now there's 180, and the last 100 basically came in the last month. So the town was very safe for a long time, and now all of a sudden it's ramping up because with it being so safe and being pretty remote, they don't think it's here. So the locals aren't really acting the way we would hope they would, and we're going to be ordering tons of food. And one of the guys that's staying with us, he loves to smoke things on the Traeger grill, and I love to let him do that. So, they'll just be, we do lots of group meals and stuff too, and it's been nice because within our little 3 acres here, it feels normal. We don't have to wear masks within our little pod, so we're just being normal, and we forget almost when we drive out of the driveway that there's a whole thing going on.
Created a household essentially,
right?
Yeah, we have created a household.
Every social pod needs a good cook, and I'm fortunate that we had Kirk with us. If you guys,
exactly, and he was on our Thanksgiving virtual campfire about cooking Thanksgiving for smoking turkeys and food. But it makes a difference, and it's also good to know since we ended up with people here for a longer time, we're on the same page, but we also made it past quarantine level, self-isolation times. Mm-hmm. So it went past the 14 days, and then that we're all on the same kind of page. So then we're taking the same precautions. So we have created a household. If we brought somebody new in, they wouldn't automatically just join us at that, they would have to go through an isolation period too. And as you mentioned, with like the case count here is low, but in other parts of the country and where a lot of us want to be in the winter, some of the case counts are higher. So it does influence your precautions. I can't talk.
Precautions, yeah.
Precautions and protocols about how you handle things and how your pods work and stuff. I mean, you should always take the precautions, but you'll want to be even more so.
Yeah, we were all going to leave here before Thanksgiving and go down to Arizona and meet up with other old RV friends and have like a Thanksgiving thing.
Like a very socially distanced in the desert,
yeah,
not interacting with each other outside.
We just felt, it just didn't feel right. Like it felt better here. And we know which stores are good here. We know which stores aren't really doing what they should be. We know, how to operate in this town, and we just didn't want to get out and start mingling. Unfortunately, we love traveling. We want to travel. Our RV's sitting there waiting for us, but it's like
we can't wait.
I've also found it easier to stay in one spot just because you know which grocery store maybe enforces mask wearing and things like that. And when you're kind of traveling from town to town, it could be a little more difficult.
Right.
We fired the Walmart in Chiefland. It's just terrible.
Yeah, so I mean, that all kind of ties into the next point that I want to talk about, was that length of time that you're spending in one location or you're spending with the same group. It really matters. And that was one thing, Rich and Kathy, I imagine, made you feel more comfortable with the winter home bases as well, that people were required to stay a minimum amount of time and really be committed to having that pod together and staying together, being safe, being on the same page.
And not just coming in and out across the country
right.
and all this. You're stuck together.
Right. So is that something that you heard? Were many attendees excited about that? And it's good to not have to move around too much right now and kind of get to know your area as well.
I'm surprised that so many people cooperated so willingly with some of the rules. A lot of people checked in the first day, but other people came later, and they still had to wear their mask for those 7 days. And it was amazing how well they cooperated with that and went along with the rules. Everybody seemed to know that they were keeping everyone else safe. Mm-hmm. It was a good feeling.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah.
And that's still taking place. The winter, you guys aren't there currently, I don't believe,
yes.
But the winter home base is still going on, and they're going on all the way through, correct me,
February,
right? So the whole point is to keep these a long-term, consistent kind of group of people, and minimizing that by requiring the 1 month stay minimum. Right. It's no benefit to us. It's really just for one of the safety precautions. So, so I definitely think it matters for sure. So
yeah, definitely. And I mean, it just goes to show, I think, with most of the pods that we've seen, and especially with all of you guys, you did commit to a long length of time together, because it just makes it safer and easier to deal with overall. So yeah.
And especially, after people have a sense of their own space, and we're saying, okay, it's 6 feet. And after a week, people made friends, they got friendlier, and that 6 feet started creeping in. And then we had to set the group down and say, guys, it's 6 feet or get your mask on.
Yeah.
And everybody, that's great. Thanks for reminding us. It's just
I'll tell you,
it's the nature. You get closer as you know people and you want to talk to them.
Yeah.
And it's just hard not to just want to revert to habits, and it's definitely, COVID is not a habit. It just still, it's hard to realize it's happening sometimes, and reminding yourself.
But that's really like the big advantage of this, is that constant community. Mm-hmm. And so it is easy to kind of fall into feeling super comfortable, and to an extent, that you're on the same page. But I think that has been the most special thing we've seen come out of that. Is it's a really hard time right now. It can be very lonely when you're isolating and you're trying to stay safe. So it's been heartwarming to see everybody come together and find a safe way to do it, because RVing in general, if you don't find a community on the road, can be isolating and lonely, especially during a pandemic. So I would say that's probably the number one advantage I see coming out of that.
And I know we've talked about, several kind of protocols we have, but not in a kind of a concise way. If you had to, what are the protocols you guys have kind of implemented? Is it, wearing masks, obviously, staying socially distanced, doing things outdoor? What are some of the the protocols you guys have in place for your pods?
So for our group, I mean, if anyone new comes in, we call them outdoor cats. They're not coming inside. They've got to, at least be here for 14 days. Mask in town, anywhere in the stores. Nobody eats in restaurants. Even, they think we're crazy because we'll sit outside. It's 38 degrees. We'll sit outside at the table and eat outside. And now we just get takeout and we'll take it down to the river or something. But there's no eating indoors. And it's just all the general stuff they tell us to do, we're trying to do. And the best we can do out there allows us to stay pretty normal in here. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. And at this point in time, we're not anticipating anybody new rolling through town. And
because most RVers are going to stay away
from
the cold. But
then we're also making the best of it. We're doing outdoor activities. We went snowmobiling, we went sledding, we hike, we're still doing the fun stuff RVers do. We don't have to go shopping inside a store or sit inside a restaurant to have fun.
Yeah, activities is, something that is really important that we want to touch on too. Matt, when you were with your pod, what were some activities that you guys did together?
Well, so even though we felt very safe with one another, we still took a lot of precautions, even with each other in the group. We didn't go inside each other's rigs. We would hang out outside. We would keep distance. And we did a lot of outdoor activities. In the Sierra Nevadas, fortunately, there's a lot of beautiful lakes. We were able to go kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, a lot of hikes. Fortunately, also for us, Yosemite, which had closed, reopened under like a ticketing system. So it was a limited number of people that could go in. So we were able to actually experience Yosemite. Even though I grew up in that area, I hadn't experienced Yosemite like this since I was a little kid. It was amazing that you were actually able to go to these vistas and things without just crowds of people around you. So we just really took advantage of that and really enjoyed Yosemite and the Sierra Nevadas around it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. For sure. I think we're on the same page with that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think one thing that was really fun to see during the winter home base, I think it was the Galveston one, Holly and Aaron shared pictures they were still able to do something for Thanksgiving, an outdoor meal. People prepared food and they were serving them with masks and gloves. And so that whole coming back to there's so much you can do to be safe as long as you follow the right precautions. You're all on the same page. You can still find things to do. The hiking is awesome. And then Rich and Kathy, you said that a bike group formed pretty quickly. Those pictures looked awesome. Yeah. So,
and then a lot of kayaking at the state parks. The rivers for kayaking in Florida are fantastic. Didn't see any manatees, but we did.
I'm sure they saw some this week, though.
I don't know. I'm worried about all the crocodiles and alligators. I don't know.
If you go to Gainesville, there's always at least 40,000 gators in Gainesville.
Yeah, and we stayed
anytime you go there.
We rented an Airbnb on a little lake, and I asked the guy, I was like, there's not any alligators, are there? Because our kids want to swim. And he was like, oh, no, they're just babies. If you do see them, they're fine. I was like,
I'm like, they still have teeth.
At University of Florida are known as the Gators. So there's always gators in Gainesville. But we did a service project at the Botanical Gardens in Gainesville. That went over real well. Real nice day. The weather was nice. We had to cancel it to a week later because the first day was bad. It was the day before the storm hit.
Well, what was the attendee feedback that you guys were seeing so far? I know that it sounds like everybody was cooperating on the same page. Were they just excited to be back together or for the first time meeting the RV community?
A lot of them were, like you said, this is the first time they ever did anything with escapees. And they were glad they had a place to go, glad they can learn from other RVers. A lot of that was happening because a lot of newbies, had, what do I do with my tanks? And, what's that thing you get your RV plugged into? And, that progressive thing that's on the meter, the pedestal. It's what is that? And We had the police come through at least 3 times a day.
Retired sheriff lived in the park.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they stopped at one of the RVers because he had a cricket, one of those small golf carts. And the
Uh-huh.
other guy wanted to buy one. So they had 3 squad cars there, So everybody's concerned at first, but that's just part of the atmosphere there. They're friends with the people in the park. The police officers do their paperwork in the laundry area there. It's
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome though. Yeah, it would kind of roll up. We're normally in some of the escapers events when we see cops, we're like, ooh.
yeah. I was going to say that, but I thought, it's.
Uh-oh.
I had another advantage that's, a little different, that everybody's taking this coronavirus thing differently. Some people are just going about their lives like it doesn't exist. And other people are really pretty worried, especially worrying about our families and, other people that we know that are at risk. And so we have the corona cycle. Sometimes you're good, everything's happy, you're having fun. And some days you're just like, what the hell's going on? Why can't we get this under control? Whatever. You have your emotions that go with it. And it seems like we're all on a little bit different cycle here. And it's helpful. You're not alone, miserable in your RV by yourself or just with your spouse and maybe taking it out on them. We each know when each other needs space, and we're totally comfortable telling each other, like, not today, and it's helpful. And it's helpful to know that you've got support. You're not just kind of sitting in the desert by yourself, just waiting. Because that's the people that are in these pods that are doing this are concerned. And so those concerns manifest, and we have to deal with that in different ways. So it's
one of the easy things for us to accept going to the hangout on short notice. We're already in a bubble here at Sumter Oaks, and we're going to be in another bubble. So we felt safe and secure. Of course, they wanted to stay longer. I said, no, we want to go back to Sumter Oaks for our
original bubble.
Our friends.
Yes.
And I'm going to give a little self-credit here and be selfish, but I have to assume Escapees was helpful through this process for all of you, your social pods, and some of those friends that we made. And and created, and the ability to connect, whether it be virtually online. I mean, we've got several people joining us, familiar names, Daniel and Paul and
Carol.
so many people online here joining us, which is also a social bubble to a degree, in the sense of at least you have an emotional connection with some other RVers out there who are going through the same thing, and and having these social bubbles, I assume is kind of the same way. My bottom line, what I'm really trying to get at, is community is important, regardless of the time we're in and what's going on. Having a community and a stable, friendships, it kind of goes a long ways, I assume.
Also, Travis, when things were starting to shut down, you guys did a great job advocating for us and reaching out to lawmakers.
No,
that was a big team effort.
There was a lot of people in the industry. Campanium was doing a great job too. It was really a huge industry effort. It was a lot. It was a lot of long nights. I don't wish it upon anybody on that side of the world. It was interesting. It still is.
Yeah, it's still.
Just the fact that you kept our parks open for us, that was fantastic.
Yeah, well,
that was a lot of policy shifting too. There was so much unknown.
We made that decision day one almost, that no matter what, we were going to keep a place available for full timers, because there's just so many people that didn't understand what was happening to the full time community. And it's not that they were trying to be mean; it's just they weren't understanding, and that's the big hurdle.
Sometimes campgrounds get lumped into a wrong category, like a hotel, and it's so far from the same thing. So. It's kind of.
I think it was especially important was the way that people who were on the road when it started, they always had a place to go, at least for a night, because the park was open for those folks too. You had to have a month for a reservation, you had to be there for a month. But if you're overnight traveling through, there's a place for you. So
absolutely.
A lot of people were very appreciative of that, because the parks are all closing down.
Yeah, well, we will always do what we can for sure. And except like Brandon Krenz, I know did countless emails, and George Ann and Carrie at the time. It was a all hands on deck situation for everyone. So, and even to this day, the parks, while we allow daily and weeklies again, we still have very strict policies in place procedures in place for our staff and just the guests as well. So it's
trying to keep everyone safe for everyone, the people who work there and guests. We want to make sure they're all safe. So
and
policies are in place for that benefit for everyone.
Yeah. And we have to commend the members too. I mean, that's what I mean by the total team effort is you guys advocated for on your behalf as well. As soon as we asked for help, everybody was there calling and doing everything they could as well. So it's just a big, big team effort.
Looks like there's a few people from Galveston chiming in.
Joanna and Tessa are on here.
Yeah, if you
FOMO.
That's one of the winter home bases for escapers is down in Galveston. So or home basers, we'll call you.
Home basers.
Home base attendees.
Yeah, if you're listening in, tell us where you are. If you're hanging out, in a social pod, let us know. If you're at a winter home base, feel free to chime in. And while we kind of wrap up our closing comments and conversations, and then if you have any questions too as well, feel free. Now's the time to ask because there's a little bit of delay on our end. So feel free.
But if there's, I think we've run through a lot of the talking points that we have for tonight. But is there anything else that you guys feel like you wanted to cover or add? For the attendee perspective or the audience perspective, I should say?
Well, I'd say as a solo RVer, it just meant a lot to me to have the pod that I had over the summer. We helped each other, and it's been a very difficult year for all of us. And to have friends, have community, it's really helped so much. And so I'm just very thankful for the pod that I've had.
Awesome. I'm sure they're all thankful as well, Matt, for you being around and helping and organizing and being a part of that too. So I'm sure it goes both ways. Are you going to get back in another pod down the road or
So we all, it got cold up there. So we all kind of migrated back down here to Arizona. And so I'm actually currently at my cousin's house. So I am in a pod of one. I'm even distancing from my cousin. So it's just me and my German Shepherd right now. But yeah, I will probably join back up with some of the crew that I was with throughout the summer.
Awesome. Well, in the meantime, you always have us as online friends and virtual friends. Just know. So.
Well, the other thing, testing is so easy that even though I know I've been safe, I'm going to go grab a test before I meet up with people just to be totally sure.
Yeah.
Because, not only for myself, I would hate to know that I spread it to somebody else. So.
Right.
Yeah. Right. That's really important.
You don't want to live with that guilt.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we've enjoyed our pod here because we have a new cabin and there was a lot of work to be done. And so they paid for their space in manual labor.
Yeah, we had work campers.
Yeah, we had our own work campers. And they felt guilty enough to help out. So it's been great. And, then we got to load up the trailer and take it to the dump. And we saw a huge black bear in the dump eating the trash. So that was fun.
And no W-9, so you're good.
You're getting paid to smoke meat and manual labor.
Well, the manual labor's over, so now it's shifted to smoked meats. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny.
But yeah, it's been nice. Was it Brenda that set up there? Very first comment. Yeah, we're in Pagosa Springs, so we're just across the mountain from you. And we go up to play in Wolf Creek Pass every now and then.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's lots of people in Galveston on there. Courtney Woogie's on there.
Oh, Courtney.
Kirsty.
It's been great, and it's very doable. You guys just need to put your expectations out there and be honest with each other. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to spend this time alone if you can find a pod to be together with and be on the same page, or spend your time in a park, and you can create one there. That's what you guys have been at Sumter Oaks for quite a while now and probably have a little thing going on. So it's doable. You just need to make sure you guys are all on the same page, because you don't want to have that if they, do they, are they kind of feeling.
Paul
don't be afraid to check each other, right?
Yeah, go ahead, Vernon.
I was just going to say, Paul commented, and you know, I know Paul, so I don't know if this is sarcastic or not. Probably is.
But
That's how you can tell if it's sarcastic because his lips are moving. But did we talk about the turmoil that can ensue? You know, you get so many people together that, you know, you thought you were friends until all of a sudden you're living together for weeks and weeks on end. Do you have to deal with infighting? We don't really have that. Our group is it's us and 3 other people. It's very small. And we do have nights when it's like, I don't need to be around anybody, you know, so I'm going to go upstairs, and we all know that. So we all know that if we say we're not doing anything, we're not doing anything, or like we're kind of busy right now. So we're like, yeah, you guys can bring food over and we'll eat, but as soon as we're done eating, you got to leave, you know.
Yeah.
But we haven't we haven't fought yet.
But that goes back to being on the same page and don't get your feelings hurt when that happens, and just kind of know everybody needs a break. I mean, you guys have been together for going on months now. Of course, you can't spend every.
Well, it's just together. Like any event, and I'm, you know, the winter home base is being together for long periods. You all need downtime, and it kind of, I would assume, kind of comes naturally. You know, you just step away. You know, like even our week-long annual bash, there's times where I'm like, look, I need to go step away for like
you skip an
8
activity
hours,
and you go to the next one, and and that's probably the great thing about being in the larger group. I say larger, but there's still a 50-person limit on that. Is that there's still people to see. You don't have to go to everything, and there's people at the activities.
Clear at the very beginning that people didn't need to come to all of the activities. They could pick and choose what ones they were comfortable with. And I think that's an important thing, no matter what size group you're in, is you don't have to always participate in everything.
What's worse? I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You go hang out in your home or your second home. You know, you're in your RVs. Your RV's right there. It's not like you're, you know, stuck in a group. You know, you still have your space, which I think is
exactly.
Well, one of the problems with the everybody coming to Florida right now is our bubble that we've had for so long here at Sumter Oaks is now expanding. They have all these new folks coming in, and they don't understand why we're doing it this way. Because they weren't in a bubble. You know, they're coming from the homes up north, and they didn't wear their mask at home. And it's going to be interesting next couple of weeks how we work that out, because everybody has a different idea when they should be wearing their mask. But it's important to us that it's worn when somebody's new, or that you don't serve coffee to let everybody grab the coffee cup, the coffee pot. You know, that's not the way we're doing it.
Right.
And it hurt somebody's feelings the other day because they said you can't have your coffee pot here.
Yeah. So, and that's just what it takes, because it's for the benefit of everyone. It's not that anyone's trying to be rude or pick on you. It's one of those like, hey, this is what everybody else is comfortable with and agreed to. We have to meet their expectations, especially as hosted events. And we definitely know that feeling. You're there to serve, you know, the group. And you know, you can't just
it's always important to gently remind people that we're all doing this for the benefit of everybody else around us too. It's not only about ourselves. We don't know if other people have underlying health conditions, and even if they don't, it's just the kind thing to do. Wear your mask, be safe. It's a small courtesy that you can do. Just take those extra precautions, because the last thing I want to do is get somebody else.
And I mean, and if if that's not what you want to do, then the pods there's another pod that maybe you fit in better, you know, for you and those what would make sense. So
the way I look at it is, I don't get to decide how you want to react to this, and you don't get to decide how I want to react to it. I'm going to react the way I'm reacting, and just don't interfere with me, and I won't interfere with you. I mean, you know, if we're on the same page in the way we react, then we can be in a pod together. And I think that's just mutual respect. You know, it's not about, you know, I had some guy in town yell at me because I was wearing a mask. I'm like, it doesn't affect you at all. It's not your problem. You know, so just you do you, I'll do me, and let's stay away from each other and we'll be fine. So I think that's how it is. And don't eat the pods, according to Paul.
Definitely don't eat the pods.
And that wasn't sarcastic. Seriously, don't eat the pods.
Any pod.
What's Paul? Oh, geez. It's funny. Well, awesome, guys. Well, thank you guys so much. Unless there's any other closing thoughts or comments that we need to answer that I missed, Corinne's and Brandon, help me out there because I know we
We're good.
Yeah.
I did see a couple like RV questions there that I feel like we should hit them since we're
Winterizing.
winterizing and the mountain grades question, because we are doing the summit this weekend.
Yep.
It's on Sunday. You can go to rv2freedom.com, and it's a one-day summit about RVing. And then that's leading to our new RVers online university kickoff. So it's all about education. So I feel like I should go ahead and give you a little bit, and maybe
I think that would make sense because it's a dangerous rabbit hole of questions to get into right now. But we will have an entire day dedicated to RV questions such as these. So.
Well, you know, I've had a lot of friends that are new RVers, and I direct them to the Escapers Facebook group and add them there. And they always comment how blown away they are and how helpful people are. And I think I have a lot of those. What are those called when you refer a little
the lamplighter?
Lamplighters. Yeah. So a lot of my friends have ended up joining because of that. So I do recommend the Escapers Facebook group for questions like that.
Yeah, and we have several groups, and I'm sure Corinza can rattle off a bunch. The Escapees. We have an Escapees group as well for members only. RV to Freedom. The business pages, that you can follow along for more club-related information. But we also have the discussion forum. There's a whole slew of community and educational content amongst our own community. But is there a down and dirty that we want to give, Brandon, to the questions, just so we're not rude?
Yeah, the mountain grades question, a real easy one, are the mountain directories. So look for those. There's an East Coast one and a West Coast one. They're really built for truckers, and they tell them, this is going to be a 6% grade, this road's not. And sometimes you can find another way around. So mountain directories are a good thing to look up.
Allstays also shows some grades on roads. So
Right.
If you have that Allstays app, you can check that.
But most RVs are fine with most grades. You're just going to go slow.
Yeah.
So pull over, put on your flashers, and
ready.
go slow.
Yeah. Just know before you go.
Just know before you go.
The winterizing question, that's a little bit of a bigger bag.
The wintering, more than winterizing.
Oh,
right?
it's wintering. So
there it is.
yeah, if we're fine in our RV down to the mid to low 20s, we don't worry about the RV as long as we're in it and we're keeping it warm. The tanks and everything else tend to keep warm too. Yeah, if you have tank warmers, turn them on. You can even get like a 60-watt old style light bulb in a drop cage that you would use to, help your dad with the car work. And you can put that in your wet bay. That'll help keep your pipes and your water pump from freezing up. If you start getting lower than that, you might start thinking about skirting or more heating, depending on how your pipes are exposed. But RVs are pretty good down into the low 20s. The thing you're really worried about is if it's consistently below freezing for days on end, because that's when the water starts to freeze and then it starts to get hard and then it starts to expand, and that's when things break.
The one thing you do want to do though, when it's cold, 32 below, even if it is for a knife, it's going to be a hard freeze at all. Disconnect your sewer, your water, fill up the night before that day when it's warm, disconnect, empty your tanks and all that. That way, that's the most common mistake, honestly, that happens for newbies that I see is, oh man, all my stuff's and then you got to wait for it to thaw. Yeah.
Yeah.
And by stuff, I won't refer to what I'm talking about, but stuff.
Yeah. But we've had friends, they're staying here and it's been as low as 15 degrees and they're fine. But it's
overnight.
It's way above
and
freezing during the day. It'll be in the mid 40s during the day. So
that's a big thing too. It's that consistency. Is it going to be below freezing during the day and overnight and keep dipping low, or is it, ranging and it's just dipping overnight when it gets low?
Yeah.
Because everything
don't
looks
follow Brandon and Corinza. You shouldn't be in Colorado right now. You should just be somewhere where it's not.
Well, I saw one person from your pod posted a picture of their water cup or something being frozen.
That was her dog water bowl inside her RV because she was keeping it at like 40 at night. And so we told her, we have another electric heater. You can put that out there. And then on Monday we're gonna wire in the 50 amp so that she can actually
She was
keep it
trying to
plugged
be
in.
very conservative and not use all the propane heat and everything. But yeah, it got a little cold in
Yeah,
there.
that was a little much. And they will be putting foam skirting around their RVs and heat lamps under the RVs because it's getting to that level here.
Yeah, fun.
All right, guys. Well, some closing remarks. Thank you, Paul, for joining in. And Greg, I'm sure you will have a great time at Desert Hot Springs, California, at the Escapers Winter home base there as well.
I saw George.
It's a great location.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So awesome. But any closing remarks, wrap up? Do we want to sell the summit again?
Oh, yeah, just Corinza.
You don't have to sell it. It's free.
You can't sell something's free, but still, yeah.
Yeah, so just head on over to rv2freedom.com. That will take you to the summit sign-up page because it is going to be a day filled with 6 seminars all about RVing, and it starts at noon on Sunday on Central Time. So adjust accordingly. And we're going to be talking about RV gadgets. We're going to talk about overlooked RV maintenance because there's a lot of stuff that you just don't think about. It's not your car and it's not your house. So different things. And staying connected on the road with Chris and Cherie. We're going to be talking about 5 steps that you need to do to go full timing. And we're going to have a live Q&A, show you a sneak peek into the new RVers online university and answer questions about it and other RVing questions throughout from the day.
Yep. Mark Nemeth also has a really cool presentation on RV gadgets. She said it, but I said it again.
I do that all the time. Don't worry.
Yeah.
All the time. I do it all the time.
Mark deserves to be talked about twice.
I mean, it's worth it, right? Because gadgets are awesome. Everybody likes RV gadgets.
Yeah, it's a completely free event. Come hang out, watch the videos. We'll all be in the chats. We'll try to answer every question we can. So come get what you can. And then, if you need more, RVers Online University will be there for you too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then the next virtual event again, December 9th, David and Cheryl Goldstein, join them to learn about health insurance.
He's extremely knowledgeable on the
yeah,
topic. It's a great webinar. I assure you. If you're interested in the topic and it pertains to you, it's
yeah, you don't want to miss it.
Yeah, don't miss it.
But thank you guys so much for joining us. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that's next Wednesday, so jump on there.
Yep. Rich and Kathy, Matt, Brandon, Kernza, thank you guys so much for sharing all of that great information.
Absolutely.
And ways to stay safe. But hopefully we can see you all in person again soon, one day down the road at another event. Fingers crossed this summer. But and thank you to the audience for joining us, for sharing your comments and asking questions too. It's been a great show.
You're all a great community, and you keep us sane as well. We don't have many friends we see either, so it's good to have these little campfires and these online chats too. So appreciate you guys, and thanks for everything.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll see you guys on Sunday.
Bye. Bye.